We're live.
Okay. Alrighty, we're going to talk about the Emmys this week. Netflix tightening its belt on expenses, and big blockbuster Hulu news coming at you in a second.
Stay tuned.
All right, we're live.
We're live.
Episode 21 of the Entertainment Business Review. We are the two smartest dumbasses talking about the entertainment business.
That's right. My name's Jordan.
My name is Brian, and we got some news this week. It wasn't that crazy of a week, but there is some stuff that's notable. First up on the docket, the Emmys.
The Emmys, yeah.
The Emmys. What are the Emmys again? Can you explain?
Yeah, great question because nobody's watching it.
Yep. Or, I mean, maybe for 4 people, for 5?
Yeah, I mean, very, very, nobody I know.
Yeah. Who's going to stay up on like a weeknight?
Well, that was
watch
also
this?
part of it. Yeah, that was also part of the issue. So, obviously,
Wild.
Everyone knows, I mean, Emmys is like, it's the TV awards. And it's, it's important for Hollywood. It's not really important for anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the ratings came in. It was on a Monday night, right? And which was an interesting choice. I think they had a choice between Sunday and Monday, and they didn't want to compete with football, which is a fair request. Although they also had Monday Night Football, so football just tends to dominate every night. That's reasonable, with the exception of like Friday, but. So they did on Monday. I think the ratings, they had like a little over 5 million people watch.
Wow.
Which is just brutal.
That is just terrible.
Just brutal.
Why even have it on TV at this point?
Yeah, they should just do it themselves and not even broadcast
I mean, it just goes along with the trend of these awards having no viewership because it's not entertaining for mainstream audiences.
No.
It serves the purpose of patting Hollywood's back.
It's fully to like pad like for them all to meet each other and make the closed circle even closer.
Yeah. And I guess it's also kind of like signaling of talent value. It's important for the studios because they need to know like what is selling and who is like worth something. So I guess it serves the Hollywood purpose, but outside of that, it's like
it serves the Hollywood purpose. Yeah, I mean, because also if you're like a talent, like if you're an actor or actress, you can say you're Emmy nominated.
It's building your resume.
Yeah, it's building your resume. So it's good for the talent. Like Hollywood should still do it, because that does help like market, actors and actresses. The problem is obviously that like audiences aren't tuning in for it, which is just an indicator that Hollywood is becoming increasingly disconnected with the average American in terms of just being normal people, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think it's an indicator, continued indicator that, I guess 2 aspects is that people in the United States just don't give a crap about actors and actresses anymore. The reasons for that could be celebrities overall. People just don't care.
Yeah.
And then also because the market right now for TV and movies, well, I guess we're talking about TV, is so fragmented and so saturated because there's so many TV shows that it's tough to find like a show that like really breaks out that like everybody in the country knows about and then is like super into that actor or actress to enough to like want to watch these things and cares about the show enough. There's just not that many shows that people like care so much about those shows that like need to watch the awards.
Yeah.
And the awards are not entertaining. Like they used to be entertaining. You used to have like a stand-up comedian at the beginning and
host
performances. And now they got like, I mean, Jordan Peele did something, but it's just not enough at the end of the day for people to really care.
The regular person doesn't really feel like they need to root for a TV show or like a movie anymore. Like it just isn't like that. And I think it's partly to do with so much media that's not just movies and TV, right? Like it's just a sign of the times. But what about the actual results? Anything nototable?
So a couple of things that were notable. The big overarching one is that HBO crushed it.
Yeah,
like just crushed it.
Not surprised at all.
No.
2021. This is 2021, right? Pretty big year.
Yeah, and this is coming after like a last Emmys, I think, where like Netflix actually beat HBO. And I think people were talking like, oh, well,
is this a passing of the guard?
Yeah, exactly. They were like, it's, Netflix did it. They're finally, they are HBO.
Yeah.
And then, of course, HBO just comes back. It's like, no.
Right.
Please. Like, that's not all. Why we stop pretending that Netflix actually makes good shows?
Yeah, there's a report that I saw recently by Whip Media that kind of talks about this. Like, there's a changing sentiment about the value of streaming services. So before, the value of a streaming service was like essentially quantity, like how much is on there, like that is value to consumers.
Right.
But that's shifted in the last year or so, where the price of a service should reflect the quality of the programming now.
Yep.
So that's a very, very and I'll bring up a chart that we can maybe pull up on this, but it basically shows that HBO is number one in consumer satisfaction because there's a lot of value for the price.
Right.
And then on the other end, there's Netflix, which is not that much value because the quality is not reflecting the price, which is still like at the highest tier. It's like $20 a month, right? So it is amongst the highest premium services. So that's, I think that's very, very telling.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, I think Netflix knew this early on, was like their differentiator, like what made them unique in the streaming world, was that they were the only one in the streaming world for a long time. And that's why they were like, we need to become HBO before HBO becomes us, because they knew that eventually everybody was going to do this.
Yeah.
And I think when Disney first launched, like Reed Hastings was like, yeah, it's about time. like they all knew, Netflix knew what the entertainment business was doing to themselves when they were giving them all that content.
Yeah.
But now that we have an environment where there's a bunch of different streaming platforms, now it's like, I used to be like, all right, well, if I don't have something to watch, like I'll just go onto Netflix because that has the most stuff. So it was bound to be something I like. Now I've got a bunch of streaming platforms that have a bunch of things that I like.
Yeah.
So like,
I remember
the hit percentage needs to be higher now, right? Because now I have all these options.
Yeah. I remember like 3 or 4 years ago, I used to ask, like, the tech companies are becoming studios and the studios are becoming tech companies. Which one is going to be more successful? And I think now we're realizing that for a studio, you can acquire the talent to build the tech. But for a tech company like Netflix, it's very difficult to acquire creative talent that could do the things the studios have done at the same company,
which makes me so fucking happy.
Yeah, it's a different, like, it's not a hard skill set. It's a very, very soft creative skill set that's hard to find.
Yes. And
you have to cultivate that over like decades probably, right? Like these studios have been doing it for almost a century.
Yep.
Right? Netflix has been around doing original content for what, 8-9 years?
8-9 years, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's they're probably slowly getting better, but we'll see.
No, it's honestly given me a little bit of validation, because like I feel like when Netflix came in, they were like, how hard is it to make content? We'll just buy the people who make good content and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
And that clearly hasn't worked out.
We can see how that worked out.
Yeah, like I think Netflix
like
is
$1 billion later.
Yes, like how much?
How much they spent on like Ryan Murphy and.
Oh my gosh, dude! Or like we were talking about this before, where they bought out the Knives Out extended universe. I'm like,
Knives Out franchise.
Yeah, like what the fuck? No, that's such a tech company thing to do. Just be like, oh yeah, this movie made a lot of money, so it must be able to become a franchise without thinking about any like intrinsic like soft skills. Like, how's the story? Is the story set up to like
Knives Out
to naturally progress?
Yeah,
and
it was a closed story.
Right. It was a great movie, and it was perfect and done, and then it was done, and like. Let's do a bunch of other things with this. Like, okay, there's a difference between like you can watch the first Harry Potter and you're like, yeah, this is the start of something, a franchise. Mm-hmm. You don't watch Knives Out and you're like, can't wait for like 20 more of these.
Well, yeah.
What do you mean?
How do you define like franchise potential then? Like, I could see it for huge worlds, right? But what is the franchise potential for something like Knives Out? Is it like the concept? Is it like the crime series concept? Is it like Agatha Christie type thing?
Yeah, I think it could be like Sherlock Holmes, where like there's a new case every single time.
Okay, yeah.
And I guess I could kind of get on board with that. I could also see that getting boring pretty quick. Mm-hmm. But I think that's probably what they were thinking. Was like each movie could be like a new
murder mystery.
You just follow Daniel Craig as he's figuring out different murders, right? Which is probably what the second movie is going to be.
Isn't that what the death on the XXX the franchise is, like Death on the Nile, Death on the Orient Express. Like that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't
like what
know.
it is, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, Hollywood has just gotten so derivative of itself.
Yeah.
Like they're not coming out with original stuff. I mean, they're
Mhm.
trying. Well, no, they're not trying as hard as they should be, but
Yeah.
eventually it'll happen.
So
I
how
guess,
did
but-
the other streaming services do in the Emmys?
So Apple won a good amount just because of Ted Lasso, which
Mhm.
I will again preface and say that as garbage because Ted Lasso is not funny, and that's what should be the criteria of a comedy show. But
Yeah.
won't go too much onto that. But so Apple had some because of that, and then Netflix had Squid Game actually did pretty well. I think it was not. I don't remember how
I'm
many
happy
it was
about
nominated
that,
for.
yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that. Not only because it's like a really great show, but also like it shows that like there's really good content being made in other countries that we should really look at and focus on.
Yeah.
Like not all the best content is being made out of America, and frankly, you can make the argument that maybe content in other countries is can be better.
Yeah.
than a lot of
And
things
I don't
going
know
on in
the
America.
full history of Emmy wins, but it feels like a gateway kind of win for other like non-local
Yeah.
TV shows. So
Yep.
yeah, that is a good sign.
Also, a show entirely in Korean. I mean, I guess they probably had a dub, but like I don't know
Dubs
how
suck.
much people. Yeah, I don't know.
I think we can all agree
people-
dubs suck.
Yes. So I think a lot of people watch it sub. So it was another like kind of Parasite moment where it's like
Yeah.
maybe we can actually really like and things that aren't in English can be mainstream.
Yeah.
Which is good. It opens up the potential for like really good storytelling. So I think that is a plus. I think that came out of it, which is really cool to
Yeah.
see.
And then Abbott Elementary probably won a lot too, right?
Yes, and so that's ABC, so Disney, I guess. I don't know if it's like going around to Hulu or
It's
it
one
might
of
be.
those-
It must be going on Hulu.
I
like,
think
right
it
after
has
airs.
ABC release and then next day release in one of the stream services. I think because I did watch the first couple episodes on Hulu, I believe.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think it gets down airs on ABC and then
Yeah, which is a good strategy, right? Like you still
Yep.
get your linear.
Oh, it's only one
crowd.
season. Oh, it's like just aired.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I thought it was like kind of long running for a bit.
Oh, no,
that's
no,
cool.
It's because it's built a lot of hype.
yeah, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. All right. Well, cool. I guess I get like
Cool.
the Emmys has followed the trend of lower viewership, but some of the trends in like wins and nominations is kind of worthy of note, but nothing groundbreaking.
I
right?
would say the significance, like if there's anything to take from the Emmys, is obviously the continued just
decline
in viewership, which is
Yeah.
just an indicator of how much Hollywood is losing popularity generally as like an entity that exists.
Yeah.
And then B obviously is HBO Max is still killing it. I mean,
Yeah.
HBO still kills it.
Yep.
And they just know how to create good content. And the tech companies are really still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
As evident of like, the new Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I don't think it's doing that great.
Yeah, I think the
so-
hopeful, the optimist side of me is hoping that Zaslav doesn't intervene too much and just lets Warner do its thing.
Yeah, I hope so. Although
Yeah.
to be fair, like I do trust Zaslav to do better in terms of like his evaluation of how he views content than like Reed Hastings or like even Ted Sarandos. I'm not even convinced Ted Sarandos really knows what good content is.
Yeah. Well,
like,
speaking of Netflix,
so-
this is probably a good segue into our second topic, which is
Yes.
Netflix is changing as a company.
Yep.
Right? Like
They're becoming what everybody was chasing them, and then when they all became Netflix, then they're like, oh wait, this actually sucks, and now they're going back to their original thing and pulling Netflix with them.
yeah,
it's
I mean,
great.
I think there's a lot in the news about how it's becoming just like any other. It stood apart because of some of the unique things it did as a company and as a culture, and then now it's kind of going back on that because they realize that that's not sustainable long term. But I think it's an indication that Netflix is maturing as a company and that streaming in itself is becoming it's coming into its mature part of the business cycle. It's no longer in that like blue chip high growth phase.
Yep.
So I saw in the news recently that there's been mass layoffs, right?
Yeah.
Their animation studio laid off like 30, 40 employees, and I saw some Netflix animations. They're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean they've had some really great ones.
Yeah.
One movie that they came out with that like really it pissed me off because it
movie
pissed me off about
pissed you off?
streaming. Well, the movie itself. So the reason it pissed me off, it was Klaus. Have you ever seen Klaus?
No. Oh, is that the
Santa
Christmas
Claus
one?
one? The Christmas one?
Yeah.
That movie is fire. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
I thought it was really well done. It's directed by the same guy who wrote the Minions movies and Despicable Me is obviously most, but he did that whole franchise.
Yeah.
And I loved that movie, but nobody heard about it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about it. And because it was dropped in like November and then it just like disappeared. I'm like, if in a different environment, this would be like another Rudolph the Red. Like this would become a Christmas classic, but you can't create them anymore because, I mean, they just dropped it with no marketing dollars whatsoever. Netflix just dropped it on the streaming platform, and it was just like buried. And I'm just like, there are great movies, I'm sure, like Klaus, that are like just getting buried, and they're not getting the exposure that they really should be getting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it's animated. It's not attached to like the image of a star. So
yeah, that hurts.
Pushed like the Ryan Gosling's, the Ryan Reynolds stuff, the Rock stuff a lot because it's like star power stuff.
Yes, I mean Chris Pratt has done a lot of animations too, like Lego Movie, and yeah.
Interesting.
No, I know it's true. It bothers me about the whole streaming ecosystem.
And then
generally.
now they laid off a whole bunch of people, so they're not going to get any better.
Yeah.
The other thing was there were belt tightening in terms of corporate perks.
Yep.
This I was aware of for a while because some of my friends who were working there were complaining about it. Like they used to have unlimited swag.
Oh, they're complaining about
Yeah, and then
no,
they're
unlimited
like
swag and
above
market value.
Yeah, I can't order unlimited swag anymore. I only have $300 worth a year.
God.
But yeah, I knew that was coming, so they're finding different ways to cut costs, and I'm sure it's probably being pushed by the scores and scores of McKinsey consultants that they hired over the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. Guaranteed I'm guaranteed the consultants came in. They're like, you guys could operate just as effectively with like 50%.
Yeah, totally.
I think you could do that for any tech company probably, and say like 80% of your staff you could cut and you'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean they paid so much for staff. But speaking of staff, I mean the most interesting to me is that now they're transitioning to not just hiring experienced employees. Oh yeah, like they were known to hire industry experienced people.
Right.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to get.
You could
the best
not,
talent.
you could not like with no industry experience, you couldn't get
in. Yeah, but now they're hiring straight from school. They're hiring undergrads, and for me, it's just their movement towards an attrition model that makes sense, similar to like consulting or banking, where it's like you're expecting certain people to leave, but you're replacing them with more, more, but not necessarily better.
Interesting.
And that's a way to cut costs, right? Because in consulting, right, it's a pyramid, right? You get a lot of low cost, but a ton of like associates at the bottom level. And as you get higher up, you get paid more and more and more. Right. And so you're expecting a certain attrition at every level. Yep. And the way to do that is to hire at the bottom and then grow internally, which is the most cheapest way to grow talent, or acquire laterally, which is the most expensive way, right?
Right, because you're paying them their market value or maybe above their market value.
Above, most of the time. Yeah,
most
that's
of
why
the
people
time
would switch. Yeah. So now it's working towards growing them from undergrad. Which is
okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I mean Netflix. Like I always said, I believe that Netflix is going to be a top company because they have like the smartest, best people. Yep. But the fact that they're changing this model might indicate that they're no longer having
it's not working.
That. Yeah, it's not. Yep. That's not their differentiator anymore.
No, it's not. Well, I think they're finally starting to learn that like that talent that they're hiring anyway is not improving the value of the streaming service.
Yeah, and can I just say, like some of the salaries that I've heard are outrageous.
Oh yeah,
outrageous.
That's why like it felt like this was just like a bubble that Netflix was creating. Like they're spending all this money on.
I'm totally jealous. Like I totally should have worked there at more money, but even if I was, I'd be like I'm overpaid.
Yeah,
right. Like it's just some of it was like.
Well, they were like that's why I kind of love this like come to Jesus moment with them because they were talking about how proud they were about this. They're like, this is our strategy. We hire over you had the keeper test, and we hire above market rate for like all these experienced people, which means we're going to be better. And everybody was, and Wall Street in particular, was just like on their knees for Netflix, just like, oh my God, this is like, you guys are so, yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my God, no positive cash, but who cares? Like, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? And so I feel like there were people like me, like, who were like, what the fuck? This doesn't seem like a winning strategy for a company at all. And now it's particularly because it's not relating to better content. That was always the thing that pissed me off by Netflix.
Well, here's
like,
the thing. It's a content Ponzi scheme until people start to see that it doesn't necessarily have that virtuous cycle that they're hoping for.
Right.
Then the scheme starts to fall apart, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. Well, it's like I feel like it's a fundamental understanding of like what really does truly reduce churn and what truly does like get subscribers into the ecosystem now. I think initially Netflix thought it wasn't about hit shows. I mean, that helps. But they were like, if you just keep the wheel going, then that will get people, like eventually they'll find a show or people will sign up almost because of that wheel and they won't cancel because of that wheel. But now it's like, believe it or not, like whatever, who is it? What's his name? Redstone. Who was the original? It's not Sherry.
Sumner.
Sumner is like, this is the business of hits. Like, yes, it's it still is.
Yep.
Fuck off, Netflix. Like, you need hits.
Oh man, I was gonna say something I totally forgot.
Sorry.
No, all good. It's something about Netflix and their hiring and the Ponzi scheme and
so talent. It was like talent that didn't end up working out. Kind of the consultant thing where they're like getting cheaper people through the pipeline, so they're not overpaying and they weren't bragging about it.
Oh, I was gonna say okay. So speaking of churn, that's what I was thinking of. They've continued to churn, and their subscribers have continued to be losing.
Yeah,
and it's because they've hit saturation in the largest, most active streaming markets, right? Mm-hmm. And then now, if international is not of the strategy, or if they're already in many international areas, which Netflix is, one of the only ways of growth is to change the model. Right. And so that's why they're going from a subscription model to now an AVOD model. And this move towards like a hybrid VOD model is a trend that we're seeing a lot of the streaming services do now. And that's because not every one of them are going international. So in the absence of international expansion, that's kind of the only way that they can do it.
Right, sure.
So now we're going to start seeing more of this HVOD terminology, which is another freaking
HVOD.
Yeah, HVOD hybrid VOD.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. So now that's going to be something that you're going to see more frequently.
I think we're just going to get to a point where they're all going to offer that shit. And
dude, honestly,
eventually it's going to become a bundle, and everyone's just going to have all of them anyway.
Yeah.
And it's just it's going to be the same thing.
Or someone shared an article that was saying how like Comcast is in talks of buying like some other streaming company to combine with Peacock.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, Peacock.
It might have been like Netflix or something. I can't remember which one. And I'm like, all right, that just means all these streaming services are going to be one service at some point. Eventually, it's probably going to be owned by Amazon.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're ever going to become one. I mean, maybe the only person I could imagine would be like Apple or Amazon just goes ham or something.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to end up being like 4 or 5 that just everybody has.
Yep.
I think that's just what it's ultimately going to end up being.
All the ones that are kind of like trailing away at the end are just going to slowly just.
Yeah, I mean, eventually Paramount Plus, Paramount's going to have to merge with Comcast or something, and they're going to have to just they're just going to have to do that. I don't know.
It's tied to like the Redstone ego a little bit for them not to do that. So I'm curious about how they would navigate that. But speaking of services combining, there's also transitioning.
Yeah, this is pretty big. Yeah.
To Hulu.
Yep.
And Hulu, I think out on the market, everyone's been kind of questioning what Hulu's going to do or how Disney's going to treat Hulu.
And I've heard some things internally where they're like not even sure either.
Yeah.
It's like kind of chaos.
The uncertainty of it must not be good for employee morale.
For context, for people who don't know, the Hulu, so Disney doesn't fully own Hulu. They own like 70% of it or something.
2/3.
2/3. And then Comcast owns the difference. Mm-hmm. And so, but that deal, I think, Disney has the offer to buy it in 2024.
Yeah.
2024. They have the option to buy it. So I think that's like Hulu's been just sitting here in like purgatory, just being like, we don't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah.
Like, because we don't know if we're going to be like Disney Plus in 2 years or we're going to be still our separate entity. It's going to be through a bundle still. Yeah. We don't know. Anyway, just wanted to give like, the context there.
Yeah. I mean, I think Disney announced that they were on track to continue to acquire that piece by the end of 2024.
Yes. Yeah.
But you mentioned that Comcast has also offered to buy it outright.
The CEO of Comcast said publicly that if Disney was willing to sell HBO, they would buy it.
Wait. If Disney was HBO? You mean Hulu?
Sorry, Hulu.
Yeah.
So it says.
Interesting.
Brian Roberts said like publicly that he would consider buying Hulu.
Yeah, anything to boost up like Paramount Plus at this point, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think Disney would ever do that because their Disney Plus, ESPN, Hulu bundle, what I think those
Makes
in
it
the
much more
industry
valuable.
refer to it as the triumvirate or the triarchy. I call it the triarchy after seeing
That's funny.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
House of the
yeah.
Dragon. But that bundle is so valuable to Disney. I can't imagine that they would just let go of it. But for Disney, in order to kind of keep that high quality like adult audience, they need Hulu, right?
I will argue, and this is probably a little bit of a hot take.
Mm-hmm. I love your hot takes. Give it to me.
I think Hulu is more valuable as a streaming service than Disney Plus is by far. I never use Disney Plus. I really don't ever use it. I only use it if I randomly want to watch a Marvel movie or something like that. But I don't watch any of the new stuff that's going on at Disney. It's like, what, the newest spin-off of some crap Marvel thing?
Yeah.
Or like another... I'm done with Star Wars. I'm done. I'm over Star Wars. I'm sure it's good. I'm just done. I don't care about Star Wars anymore.
Yeah, so
that's
I
all
would
they
agree
make.
with you.
All they make is Marvel and Star Wars. I'm like, what if I'm over those?
And remake and like
And
redoing
remakes.
some of the stuff. So
Yeah, like the Little Mermaid remake, they just released a trailer. I'm like, I didn't ask for a Little Mermaid. And nobody wants the live actions. I don't give a crap about the live action version of these.
I'm in complete agreement with your view on that, but I think that's our opinion because we're growing out of that completely, which kind of sucks because Star Wars is an adult franchise, right?
Well, I'll tell you. Do you think we're like special though in that way?
What do you mean?
I would
I am
argue
special.
Well, of course, we're all special and unique. But I would argue that a majority of the viewing public is getting tired of Marvel and Star Wars.
And
I think they're also mad at
12-year-old
Disney.
kids.
A little bit. Well, I mean, obviously the new ones coming in, I guess.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
How about this?
Do you think kids are really thrilled to get like the leftovers of the Marvel universe?
I don't think they realize that they're leftovers.
Maybe not.
Yeah, because honestly, if you ask an 18-year-old kid to go and rewatch like the original Star Wars trilogy, like they're not going to watch it.
No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
But does that mean?
Try it?
But do you think are the Star Wars shows they're making now even good if you don't know that context? You know, like the Mandalorian.
So they're terrible. They're terrible.
They're just not good shows.
Like, but I wonder if that's because we know what it was before. So when we compare, like, we just think it's shit. But it follows the recipe that they think succeeds amongst like that 5 to 18-year-old demographic.
I do think that. I just worry that they're falling into this hole that I love my boy Bob Iger, but Bob put them in where they bought Marvel and Disney. And so they're almost obligated now to just soak those.
Milk the udder.
Milk those until it's just like the worst shit. And then some. Like it could still get shitty. And then they still are like, well, keep going.
Yeah.
Until I don't know what's going to ultimately end up having to happen before they're like, we're done with Star Wars and we're done making Marvel stuff anymore. But they've done themselves in this hole where they have to keep doing it. And they're trying to like, at least with Marvel, I guess they're like trying to spice it up with like, unique stuff, but it's still superheroes. And I think everybody is like, like, we get it.
Yeah.
It's
a little overplayed at this point.
It's overplayed. And so like, if I'm looking for like something new to watch, I'm never going to Disney Plus. Yeah. Ever. I don't even know what they would have to do.
Since Moon Knight.
Yeah,
so,
Moon Knight was an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a little bit unique. So there are like a few gems, but they're like kind of hard to find and come across these days. But I think, okay, so here's how I'll end it. If you're a 12-year-old kid watching our video, drop in the comments if you think if it's even close to what you would watch, or if you enjoy Disney Plus
honestly
over other things.
I would guarantee you most of them will be like, I watch anime.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah. I mean, I think that is becoming the new Marvel. Is anime. Honestly.
Yeah. People underestimate the power of an anime.
Yeah, and it's
and they have underestimated it for a long time.
A long time. Yeah. And the difference between...
says the man from Crunchyroll.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
But I think the difference is that like those are very unique and different and like interesting stories that anime is telling, and Disney's just throwing off being like. They're spin-offs of franchise. Like if you're a new kid, for instance, and you're like, want to watch something cool.
Yeah.
The problem is the new stuff Disney's coming out is not cool to you because it's like, look at Luke Skywalker, and you're like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
You don't care. But anime is like they're just pushing out unique, interesting fantasy stories, and so that's more appealing if you're like a newcomer coming in versus the next spin-off of the Justice League, and you're just like. They'll make points that like only if you like knew the character's backstory before that you get. Yeah. And it's just like kind of ruins it. Yeah. So, that's just a side tangent, but like I don't know if I'm curious like we grew up when we were kids, like Disney was like the shits. Like we all the movies were amazing. Yeah. I don't know if they're like Disney kids anymore. Like I don't know if kids are really falling in love with Disney.
We also grew up reading those comics, so there's like this relationship that we've developed with them for like a long time. I just don't know what kids are looking at these days. Like, are they reading the comics? Are they like reading manga? Like what?
They're reading actually, if you're looking at manga versus regular comics, it's not even close. They're reading way more manga. More manga. Yes. Well, I would argue there's two major reasons for that. A, it's, I think manga is doing really well because it's good word of mouth. Like the ones that get to the United States, like the bad ones are kind of filtered out. Yeah, the bad ones are kind of filtered out. So if you get a manga in the United States that's like been like they think it's valuable enough to import into the United States. Yeah. It's got to be pretty good. Yeah. So like the hit rate on manga is much better. But then also B, with comic books, the talent, like the really good talent left the comic book industry like kind of a while ago. And a lot of it was because it was just a lack of originality. Like they had original stories and Marvel was like, no. Like and DC was like, no, you keep it within the superhero universe. Like that's our, it's basically become like a duopoly. Yeah. Like the whole comic book industry is basically owned by Marvel and DC, which means basically that you can't, unlike manga where you could have a completely original concept.
There's more freedom of creativity amongst manga because it's more fragmented.
Yes, exactly. There's more competition. So but if you're only Disney or Marvel, so if you're a good comic book writer, you have to be at one of those, and they have to be superhero movies, right? Superhero stories. They can't be anything unique. So if you want to create a unique story,
like you
really can't compete.
Yeah, you can't have like a Marvel love story.
Yeah, with nobody without superpowers, right?
Yeah.
Or just like a total different fantasy world. Yeah. Like they're like, no, well, how does super
I guess there is
Iron
a
Man
small
get
market.
into this?
I guess there's a small market of like graphic novels too, but that's like a very
you have like the Watchmen, and you have there are a couple like indie ones that are like really interesting, but it's hindered the creativity.
Interesting.
So it's also to be fair, also is a huge demographic of the comic book industry has always been young nerdy guys, and Marvel now is they've pivoted to like it needs to be all about women and people of color, and that's great, but it's not the target. They're not hitting the target demo anymore. Like the target demo is like cool, but I don't relate to this,
right?
And so they don't,
and that's why anime is getting huge because there's like a lot of masculine fighting and
it's all about young boys becoming heroes. That's it. That's all these young men wanted. Yeah. And now it's like, well, now we're going to insert a female lawyer, and it's like, all right, have fun with that.
She-Hulk lawyer.
Yeah,
it sucks.
So like, and then Marvel gets mad like, why are young men enjoying this? And it's like because they liked the stories that you were telling before that related to them, that they related to more. They're not going to relate to a She-Hulk as a lawyer. They don't care about that. These are geeky guys trying to figure out what to do with their lives. Yeah. They want to become heroes when they grow up. That's the whole appeal.
Yeah, I wonder who that show is for. We could
She-Hulk? I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, that whole thing has always been interesting to me because there's this funny I think thought at Marvel right now where it's like we can create anything. And these losers will watch whatever we push out. Okay. I genuinely think that's the case. I genuinely think they're like, there's going to be Marvel fans that are going to watch whatever. So we can make whatever we want, and they'll like it. And, they come out with garbage.
I'm honestly...
And they're like mad. They're like, they don't understand how Marvel fans aren't jumping on board willingly. Yeah. And it's like, because you're losing their trust.
To work at Disney streaming right now to see how some of these are performing.
Oh my gosh, dude! I mean, even She-Hulk was like the creator of the She-Hulk show, mentioned in an interview that when she was first going to make the show, there was a conversation about how much She-Hulk should I have in there versus Jenna Walters, how much of that, how should I write that in? And she asked Kevin Feige, is there you know, like I don't want my line, producer to get really mad at me. Like, is there a certain, do we have a limited budget or whatever? And Kevin was just like, well, if I wanted a She-Hulk show, I'd want a lot of She-Hulk. So go forth. And that was it. She was like, all right, sweet. Put She-Hulk in like 80% of the scenes, which was not good because the CGI is terrible. So you're like just seeing crap CGI for like 80% of
So
it.
you've seen some of it.
I haven't seen the show. I mean, I've seen clips.
Oh, okay.
That made me want to throw myself out a window. But but like,
yeah, I haven't even given it.
I mean, this
try.
this brings me back to like the whole hero concept and why like, young men appreciated these stories, because there were stories about like becoming a hero and being a good person, like what it means to be a hero and like what it means to like achieve goals and to work hard.
Let's play devil advocate.
And then you have like She-Hulk twerking with Megan Thee Stallion, and like, why aren't young boys liking this content? It's like, because this is the dumbest shit.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. What if they're trying to target the young girls who are saying that they can be superheroes?
I don't think young girls like this shit.
Okay,
I'm going to be honest.
So you're saying fundamentally they are just not interested in superhero type content.
I don't think. I mean, obviously there are plenty of exceptions, but generally I don't think women give a shit about superheroes. On average,
young women.
I don't think young women are like, I want to be a superhero. Like women are like, that's dumb. Like I mean, obviously that's not all of them.
Yeah.
But like young nerdy men are looking for purpose generally.
From these superhero type movies.
And I don't think young girls are like, I don't know. I mean, sure they are to a certain extent, but like I just don't think. And this is also just like stupid violent stuff, and like I don't know, like women just don't tend to like stupid violent stuff.
Yeah, like the stakes in these are not the same as what they would resonate with. Yeah.
No,
I mean that's an interesting point. I don't know enough about the young audiences to have an opinion at this point. But
I mean, it's like trying to it would be like trying to shift reality TV to make it appeal more to men. It's like, why? Why? Who cares if men are watching it? Women fucking love reality TV.
Right.
Some men will join on. Don't change reality TV to suit an audience that doesn't really care about reality TV anyway.
Yeah.
So what's happening with Marvel is like they're trying to change Marvel for a target audience that doesn't really like superhero shit. And they're like, don't worry, like they'll like it because we'll change it. It's like, I don't think women like. I don't think there's women like I don't like superhero content. But now that I see She-Hulk, now that I see there's a woman lawyer in it. Now I'm gonna watch it. It's like,
well,
I just don't think that's what's gonna happen.
The last thing I'll say is like maybe they wanted like the Hulk fans to watch She-Hulk because that's what it's attached to, right? The Hulk universe.
Right. Yes.
But that's probably not the case.
I don't know. I mean, did you read the She-Hulk comic books? Like I've heard they're like not bad. Like,
yeah, so they're not bad, and like She-Hulk is supposed to be stronger than Hulk as well. She's some I can't remember what it is.
Did they explain it at least?
There's some reason, and I can't remember why. And there's like Warrior Hulk and like Warrior She-Hulk. Like there's all these different versions of it, so I can understand what they're doing with it.
Yeah,
I think they just chose the most irrelevant like
part
direction.
of it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea.
I hope so.
It's been a while since I read a Hulk comic.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I mean that's the difference. Like with like She-Hulk being stronger, it's one of those things where like I think Hollywood would attack you if you like you question that. They're like, how dare you? She can be stronger. It's like, okay, is she stronger because she's a woman, which is just virtue signaling because that's just dumb, or is there like a physical reason why She-Hulk, despite the fact that she looks like half the size of Hulk, is somehow stronger than him?
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that? And that's fine. It's like when you had Avatar: The Last Airbender and there was like good women benders. You're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like you don't need like be big to like be better at bending.
Can I?
You know?
Can I go on a quick like last little tangent on like writing strong female characters? Like I was recently watching. I was recently watching Prometheus and Alien Covenant, like the prequels to Alien.
Yeah.
And like Ridley Scott does such a good job of like writing strong female leads that isn't just for the purpose of them being female, right? Like all three of those movies had strong female leads. Not because that they're purely women, but because it kind of works with the story.
Yes.
And I was like, man, this is really good. I mean, there's other ones as well. Like Quentin Tarantino writes really good ones as well.
Yeah. Kill Bill.
Yeah, and there's a ton of other ones that are really good.
Well, think about the most recent one, Arcane, written by two dudes.
Yeah.
Some of the best female characters I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. It seems like it's fewer and far between nowadays. But when you do see it, you're kind of like, oh, I appreciate that.
Yes. It also validates us a little bit where it's like, am I really just sexist?
Yeah.
Am I actually just an asshole? And then you watch something with a good female and you're, okay, I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah.
They're just sucking at writing. Okay.
Yeah.
This makes me feel better.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Tangent over.
Yeah.
And I think we've been on for like 35 minutes.
Fair enough. Yeah. I have another tangent I could go on about that, but I'll save it for the next time.
We'll save the tangents for the next time. I have some recommendations.
All right.
First one is Barbarian, the movie. It's a scary movie based on, like, it's kind of like your typical, like, kind of kidnapping type movie. I won't say anything more than that, but it's very unique in the way that it's segmented the different acts of the movie. And so if you watch it, you'll understand what I mean. It's like the roller coaster of it is very intense, and I think that's what the director intended it for it to be.
Yeah.
And Justin Long was really good in it. So I definitely recommend that one for all of you guys if you haven't seen it already. And then in shows, the first 4 episodes of The Patient just came out on Hulu, and it stars Steve Carell as like a therapist. Oh. And he basically he's basically being captured by a patient for a specific reason, and it's very interesting. First 4 episodes are out. I started watching it this morning, and I had to watch all 4 episodes that are out so far. It's
Really?
FX. Yep. So it's pretty good.
Okay.
I highly recommend that one.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this reminds me.
It's an easy watch. They're 30 minutes each.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I will say, like, I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is an anime.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It's considered one of the best
Yep.
like animes ever created. So I was like, I just have to watch it. And it's been amazing.
Yeah.
But so I'd recommend that for sure. But also, it's funny because just generally watching that, because it's made for cable television. The episode's like 23 minutes. Fucking love that.
Yeah.
Like, we need to stop with this like
hour
and a half miniseries. I mean, fuck, Stranger Things. Like, some of the episodes were like, I mean, the last episode was like 2.5 hours. I'm like, dude, this is just a movie at this point. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like,
why not just make it into a movie?
Yeah, and it makes it so much easier to consume when it's in short episodes.
Yeah.
Like, I think audiences kind of like even though they end up obviously binging for like hours. I think they like the out. I think they like the break every like 20, 25 minutes. Like, all right, should I keep watching? I'll keep watching. Yeah. I think fans do like that versus after like 45 minutes of continuously watching something, I think they start losing it. And they're just
you
like,
get more opportunities to have some sort of a cliffhanger if it's every 24 minutes, right?
Yes.
Totally agree.
I think we need to go back to that format, even if we're not going to go back to linear television.
Yeah, just
we should go back to like the shorter episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's episode 21. We're going to wrap it up here.
Yeah.
And then we'll be back for episode 22.
Sounds good.
All right.
Peace.